Hey guys, it's Saria. I'm super excited because this is the second video as part of my collab with the Disney Damsels. If you missed it, I have also posted today a tutorial on how to make a Jack wreath to go with your Sally wreath. The Disney Damsels are a fantastic little duet. It's Mina and Rowan, and they're so sweet and genuine, and their channel is just so great. They're absolutely one of my favorite channels. I reached out to Rowan a little while ago and I was like, hey, you asked for some video ideas and I wanted to see if you guys would maybe be cool with collabing. I have this idea where maybe I can make a craft and then you guys can try to do it on your channel, like follow my tutorial. I've seen this done with makeup channels and I thought it'd be really cool with crafting too. So Rowan was like, yeah, I would love to. So I asked her kind of what she would want to make, and she said that she would really like to learn how to make some sort of wreath inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas since Halloween is coming up. And so I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And so I really stuck to items from Dollar Tree or items from like kind of the dollar section at Michael's. And so this is what I came up with. This is Sally. Isn't she cute? So Sally costs around $9 altogether with everything on her. So if you guys are just interested in the Sally tutorial, please keep watching, but I do highly advise that you check out the Jack tutorial as well. And just to give you a little teaser, let me show him to you real quick. So this is Jack in all his adorable splendor. I really do feel like you should make both. They are a little bit on the small side, but that's because I bought the wreath forms from Dollar Tree. You can get larger ones from other craft stores. But wanting to save money and knowing that I was going to make two of them, I was totally fine with them being on the smaller side. Right, Jack? Please go check out the Disney Damsels channel. They are just so great, so genuine, and I love watching them. Truthfully, they were one of my biggest inspirations for starting my own YouTube channel, and I cannot express how grateful I am to them for doing this collab with me. I really can't. Like, it's just crazy to me that I'm doing this with them. I don't know, it's so cool that this Disney community is so tight-knit, and it's literally like you become friends with people and you reach out to them and you talk to them and you get to know them. So I want to say thank you to the Disney Damsels for doing this with me. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I make videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday, and without further ado, let's get into the Sally tutorial.
For this project, you're going to want some fabric scissors. I got mine from Hobby Lobby. They were only $2, but you do want scissors that have never cut anything but fabric because they do better on felt. You're also going to want a foam wreath form, a hot glue gun, and then the following puffy paint colors: light blue, red, white, and black. You'll also need hot glue sticks and felt to match Sally's dress, red yarn, and wire cutters. You're also going to need some sort of smooth white sphere. I got this eyeball in the Halloween section at Michael's. You are going to need blue paint that matches Sally's skin tone. I think the color I chose ended up being a little bit too dark. I would probably go a shade lighter if I did this again. You are going to need about 3 coats to cover this thing completely. Now, if you want the shade to be lighter, 2 coats will make the skin lighter, but at the same time, it is going to show some of that white through. So go ahead and begin painting that first coat, and then after you've got this all done, you're going to let it dry probably about 30 minutes, and then go in and do the second coat, and then let it dry another 30 minutes, and then do the third coat. I say 30 minutes to be cautious. I think mine dried in about 10 minutes. So if you want to test it out, I would just feel the back of the eye, the part that you know you're not going to use, because if you mess it up, then no one will know. And then you can just set it aside. So now you're going to take your wreath form and your felt, and this part is a lot of trial and error, and I know that that's not really what people want to hear in a tutorial, but I also want to be super honest with you guys. So when I first started doing this, I just cut random sized pieces and started hot gluing them down. That does end up being the best way, but I guess I just kept second guessing myself with folds in the felt. I did figure out that basically if you put hot glue in the opening of the felt and then just really work to smooth it out, you can push all the wrinkles to the back where no one's going to see them. I'm going to show you guys how to do that a little bit more in depth in a minute. So I'm going to jump forward to when I actually have a few pieces already on so I can show you how I've learned from my mistakes. So this first piece I got on, I started with a small piece, and that helped a lot. Don't start with a big giant piece until you really have it down how to adhere them to the wreath. So even the second piece I have, I kept turning it because I didn't really like how it was fitting, and now I'm going ahead and gluing it down, and I still have some bubbles in it, so I'm pushing it down and smoothing it out until I really have it smoothed onto that wreath form. And don't mind if you get little bubbles in the back because no one's going to see those. So jumping ahead again, I've kind of got it down at this point. So if I see weird angles, I actually will cut the felt to fit that angle, but the rest of the shape doesn't totally matter. So I just kind of would leave them random. Then I would apply hot glue to the edge of it and then put my hot glue gun inside the felt and begin that smoothing motion that I kind of explained earlier. So again, I'm fitting it to this angle right here and then applying it specifically to that spot and then continuing on to the foam wreath. So I decided to wrap it and even connect it on the back. I know that this looks kind of crazy, but I promise you guys it comes together and looks really, really cute. That's the best part about Sally's dress, is that because it's random, you can replicate it and it looks crazy at first, but then it looks cute. So now I'm going in with like a tiny little piece just to fill in a gap that I had. I do not cover my entire wreath. You could if you wanted to, but I just don't think it's necessary considering half of it's going to be pressed up on the wall and no one's going to see it. Okay, so now I'm venturing on to a bigger piece. So as you can see, I cut like a really long strip and then I'm pressing it down to fit against that yellow felt. Sorry, I needed another hot glue stick. And then I pressed it up till the top of it and then I just trimmed it from there, trimming little by little and hot gluing it down once I had it to the right size. Now I've got this big fold here, so I'm going to trim off the excess and then I'm going to hot glue down the sides, and as you can see, I'm smushing down any wrinkles that I have. The good thing is if you don't like it, you can pull it off if you do it quickly and just try again. I did have to do that a couple of times. So again, just applying that hot glue to the inside and then really smoothing it out with your fingers and cutting off any excess. Alright, so I'm going to jump ahead just so that this video isn't 20 minutes long. So I just wanted to show you one more close-up version of me putting the felt on. So again, it's all about this smoothing, pressing motion with your thumbs. That's what gets those little wrinkles out, which I found to be the most difficult part of this, but it's not hard once you get used to it. So now I'm just fitting in my very last piece of felt. And again, that back is not going to look very pretty, but no one's going to see that. So I promise it's going to look cute in a minute. But go ahead and do your next coat on Sally's head. This is my second coat. You probably will need a third one, but it just depends if you like the way that it's covered. So now here's the part where it all comes together. Take your black puffy paint and start outlining each piece of felt. So anytime two colors meet or there's a cross in the felt, you want to make sure that you've got that black puffy paint crossing it. This is what takes it from looking kind of messy to looking super cute. If you had noticed any corners bubbling up or anything, just go in with your hot glue gun and re-glue them down before you put the puffy paint on. I would take this section by section and then add on these little crisscrossy marks. You can do little X's or notches to make it look more like stitching. So now you're going to take Sally's head now that it's dry, and you need to decide how long you want her hair to be. So I decided to not drape the yarn all the way across her head, but to rather glue it from the middle part down in two different sections. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, but that's how I decided the length. Then I went in and cut the rest of my yarn to about an equal length. I left mine a little long so I could trim it. Then I pulled up a reference photo of Sally's face and began tracing it on there. Don't press down super hard with your pencil, that way if you mess up you can erase it or at least smudge it off with your finger pretty easily. I did forget to add on her stitch that goes across her face, but it's okay, I went in later and added it. So then take your white puffy paint, I'm sorry it gets a little blurry here, and fill in her eye first. Just following the trace marks that you gave yourself. And then you're going to take your black puffy paint and outline her eye. I would advise you to wait till the paint's a little bit more dry just so that they don't mix. It's a lot easier if the white is already dry. Then you'll go in and do the rest of your lines, add her little eyelashes. And then same thing on the other side. So then for the rest of her face, originally I used the dark blue puffy paint, and then you'll see later on I peeled it off and went to a lighter blue. The dark blue I just thought ended up being a little bit too harsh, but if you like how this looks, then I would definitely advise to use the dark blue. And then I'm going in and doing her mouth. Again, just be really careful because I did it with all of this paint wet, which I ended up regretting. And then the red for her lips. So after I finished this part, I realized that I didn't trace on her scar, so I decided just to freehand it with the black puffy paint. So I went in here and did one next to her eyebrow, and then I also added one below her eye. So after I finished all this, I set it down on the table to dry, and this happened. It rolled over, the paint all got smushed, but luckily I let it dry and I was able to peel off all of this and basically do most of the face again. Sad day. So this is it with the lighter blue puffy paint. I ended up liking this a little bit more, and then I basically redid all the steps I just showed you. So now moving on to the hair. I decided to start from the middle of her part like this, and then I traced in a little part just to make sure that I kept everything relatively symmetrical as I went. And I started with hot glue on the yarn, but that is not the better method. The better method is to put a line of hot glue directly on the head and then tap on the yarn with your fingernail. Really take your time on this part, not to get your finger stuck in the glue because it'll pull off and then it'll leave these hot glue residue marks on the hair. Mine ended up having some, so learn from my mistakes and don't do that. Just use your fingernail to gently press it down into the line of glue. And then continue down the front of her head, and then once you have the first side done, you can trim up any parts that are sticking out, and then you can repeat this steps onto the other side. Once you get toward the back, you're going to continue this pattern down a center part down the back of her head. So now that you have her hair all attached, you can go in and trim it to be one length across. I did leave her hair on the long side, I just liked how it looked. So then you're going to decide where to place her. I didn't like her on the bottom like I did with Jack, I really liked her on the top. And so I clipped off the excess part of the wire underneath her head. And then I took it and I kind of poked into where I wanted it to go just to mark it. And then I took some scissors and snipped through the felt, or rather poked through the felt on the wreaths, and then I was able to just push her head down into the wreath form. And now her head is all attached. If you want her to be more secure, you could always hot glue around her head. I just chose not to in case I want to change it up around Christmas time like I did with Jack. So in order to hang this, what you're going to do is take a small piece of red yarn, put a line of hot glue on the back, press down the yarn, and then do the same thing on the other side to create an upside down U. This is going to be your hook to hang the wreath. And that's it for the Sally tutorial. Please also check out the Jack tutorial so that you can have both of these beautiful wreaths, and pop over to the Disney Damsels page to check out their version. I'll see you guys in my next video. Be sure to subscribe. Bye!